Good morning, crew. I have a really special book to share with you. It's a Dr. Seuss book. It's called The Lorax, and it's about the Lorax who speaks for the trees. It's a really special book, and I hope you all enjoy it. As we're reading today, I want us to think about who are the characters in this story, what is happening, what are the things that are going on in the story, what's happening in the story, and then last, where is the story? Who, what, and where. And we're going to use the who, what, and the where at the end of the story to draw a picture with labels about the Lorax. So I hope you enjoy Dr. Seuss's The Lorax and that we can work together to grow our brain. The Lorax by Dr. Seuss. And this right here just says it's an earth-friendly book and that it's printed on recycled paper. Maybe think about why this book specifically would be printed on recycled paper as we read. The Lorax by Dr. Seuss. At the far end of town where the crinkle grass grows and the wind smells slow and sour when it blows and no birds ever sing excepting old crows is the street of the lifted Lorax. Do you notice any rhymes in the story so far? And deep in the crinkle grass, some people say, if you look deep enough, you can still see today where the Lorax once stood just as long as it could before somebody lifted the Lorax away. What was the Lorax? And why was it there? And why was it lifted and taken somewhere? From the far end of town where the crinkle grass grows, the old Onceler still lives here. Ask him, he knows. You won't see the Onceler, don't knock at his door. He stays in his lurkum on the top of his store. He lurks in his lurkum, cold under the roof, where he makes his own clothes out of muffed moof. And on special dank Monday, midnights in August, he peeks out of the shutters, and sometimes he speaks and tells how the Lorax was lifted away. He'll tell you perhaps, if you're willing to pay. On the end of the rope, he lets down a tin pail, and you have to toss it 15 cents in a nail, and the shell of a great-great-grandfather's snail. Then he pulls up the pail and makes a most careful count to see if you've paid him the proper amount. Then he hides what you paid him away in his snub, his secret strange hole in his grovelous glove. Then he grunts, I will call you by the whisper-ma-phone, for secrets I tell are for your ears alone. Slap! Down slups the whisper-ma-phone to your ear, and the old Onceler's whispers are not very clear, since they've come down through a snurgly hose, and he sounds as if he had smallish bees up his nose. Now I'll tell you, he says, with his teeth sounding gray, how the Lorax got lifted and taken away. It all started way back, such a long, long time back. Do you see the whisper-ma-phone? Way back in the days when the grass was still green and the pond was still wet and the clouds were still clean and the song of the swami swans rang out in space, one morning I came to this glorious place and I first saw the trees, the truffula trees, the bright-colored tufts of the truffula trees, mile after mile in the fresh morning breeze. And under the trees I sound brown barbaloots frisking about in their barbaloot suits as they played in the shade and ate truffalo fruits. From the rippleless pond came the comfortable sound of the humming fish humming while splashing around. But those trees, those truffalo trees, all my life I've been searching for trees such as these. The touch of their tufts was much softer than silk, and they had the sweet smell of fresh buttermilk. I felt a great leaping of joy in my heart. I knew just what I'd do. I unloaded my cart. And in no time at all, I had built a small shop. Then I chopped down a truffula tree with one chop, and with a great skillful skill and a great speedy speed, I took the soft tuft and I knitted a thneed. So I took the trees, chopped it down, and made this thing called a thneed. The instant I finished, I heard a gazump. I looked and I saw something pop out of the stump of the tree I'd chopped down, and it was sort of a man. Describe him? That's hard. I don't think that I can. He was shortish and oldish and brownish and mossy. He spoke with a voice that was sharpish and bossy. Mister, he said with a sawdusty sneeze, I am the Lorax. I speak for the trees. I speak for the trees have no tongues. I'm asking you, sir, at the top of my lungs. He was very upset, and he shouted and puffed, what's that thing that you've made out of my truffula tuft? Look, Lorax, I said, there's no cause for alarm. I chopped just one tree. I am doing no harm. I'm being quite useful. This thing is a thneed. A thneed's a fine something that all people need. It's a shirt, it's a sock, it's a glove, it's a hat. But it has other uses, yes, far beyond that. You can use it for carpets, for pillows, for sheets, for curtains, or covers for bicycle seats. The Lorax said, sir, you are crazy with greed. There is no one on earth who would buy that fool thneed. Do you think the Lorax is right? Do you think somebody's going to buy it? But the very next minute, I proved he was wrong. For just that minute, a chap came along. He thought that the thneed that I had knitted was great. He happily bought it for $3.98. I laughed at the Lorax. You poor stupid guy. You can never tell what some people will buy. Oh, that's not a very nice way to talk to somebody. That's not being cruel. I repeat, cried the Lorax, I speak for the trees. I'm busy, I told him. Be quiet, if you please. I rushed across the room, and in no time at all, I built a radio phone. I put in a quick call. I called all my brothers and uncles and aunts, and I said, listen here. Here's a wonderful chance for the whole Onceler family to get mighty rich. Get over here fast. Take the road of North Nitch. Turn left at Weehawken. Sharp right at South Stitch. And in no time at all, in the factory I built, the whole Onceler family was working full tilt. We were knitting thneeds as busy as beads to the sound of the chopping of truffula trees. Seems like a lot of trees are being cut down to make these silly things called thneeds. Then, oh baby, oh, how my business did grow. Now chopping one tree at a time was too slow. So I quickly invented my super axe hacker, which whacked off 4 truffula trees at one smacker. We were making thneeds 4 times as fast as before, and that Lorax, he didn't show up anymore. But the next week he knocked on my new office door. He snapped, I am the Lorax, who speaks for the trees, which you seem to be chopping as fast as you please. But I'm also in charge of the brown barbaloots, who played in the shade in their barbaloot suits and happily lived eating truffula fruits. Now, thanks to your hacking my trees to the ground, there's not enough truffula fruit to go round. And because my poor barbaloots are getting their crummies because they have gas and no food in their tummies. So the barbaloot bears are having a really hard time. They've loved living here, but I can't let them stay. They'll have to find food, and I hope that they may. Good luck, boys, he cried as he sent them away. I, the Onceler, felt sad as I watched them all go. But business is business, and business must grow, regardless of crummies and tummies, you know. So he's sending the barbaloots away. I meant no harm. I most truly did not, but I had to grow bigger, and bigger I got. I biggered my factory, I biggered my roads, I biggered my wagons, I biggered my loads of meads I shipped out. I was shipping them forth to the south, to the east, to the west, to the north. I went right on biggering, selling more meads, and I biggered my money, which everyone needs. Then, once again, he came back. I was fixing some pipes when the old nuisance Lorax came back with more gripes. I am the Lorax, he coughed and he whiffed. He sneezed and he snuffed, he snargled, he sniffed. Onceler, he cried with a kerfuffleless croak. Onceler, you're making such smoggless smoke. My poor swami swans, why they can't sing a note. No one can sing who has smog in their throat. And so, said the Lorax, please pardon my cough, they cannot live here, so I'm sending them off. Where will they go? I don't hopefully know. They may have to fly for a month or a year to escape from the smog that you've smogged up around here. What's more, he snapped at the Lorax. His dander was up. Let me say a few words about gluppity-glup. Your machinery chugs on day and night without stop, making gluppity-glup, also schloppity-schlop. What you do with this leftover goo, I'll show you, you dirty old Onceler man, you. You're glumping the pond where the humming fish hummed. No more can they hum, for their gills are all gummed. So I'm sending them off. Oh, their futures are dreary. They'll walk on their fins and get woefully weary in search of some water that isn't so smeary. And then I got mad. I got terribly mad. I yelled at that Lorax, now listen here, Dad. All you do is yap, yap, and say bad, bad, bad. Well, I have my rights, sir, and I'm telling you, I intend to go on doing just what I do. For your information, you Lorax, I'm figuring on biggering and biggering and biggering and turning out more truffalo trees into seeds, which everyone needs. And at that very moment, we heard a loud whack. From outside in the fields came a sickening smack of an axe on a tree. Then we heard the tree fall, the very last truffalo tree of them all. No more trees, no more needs, no more work to be done. So in no time, my uncles and aunts, everyone, all waved me goodbye. They jumped into my car and drove away under the smoke-smuggered stars. Now all that was left neath the bad-smelling sky was my big empty factory, the Lorax, and I. And the Lorax said nothing. Just gave me a glance, just gave me a very sad, sad backward glance as he lifted himself by the seat of his pants, and I'll never forget the grim look on his face when he hoisted himself and took leave of this place through a hole in the smog without leaving a trace. And all that the Lorax left here in this mess was a small pile of rocks with one word, unless. Whatever that meant, well, I couldn't guess. That was a long, long time ago, but each day since that day I've sat here and worried away. Through the years, while my buildings have fallen apart, I've worried about it with all of my heart. But now, said the Onceler, now that you're here, the word of the Lorax seems perfectly clear. Unless someone like you cares a whole awful lot, nothing is going to get better. It's not. So he's standing in the little unless. I don't know if you can see that. So, catch, says the Onceler. He let something fall. It's a truffalo seed, the last one at all. You're in charge of the last of the truffalo seeds, and the truffalo trees are what everyone needs. Plant a new truffalo, treat it with care, give it clean water, and feed it fresh air. Grow a forest, protect it from axes that hacks. Then the Lorax and all of his friends may come back. That's our end of our story. I hope you enjoyed it. I think it's a really special book. It's a little longer than the read alouds we usually do, but there's lots here for us to draw about, so let's start thinking about that who, what, where. Who, what, where. So who someone is, those are the characters in the book. So let's take a moment to think about the characters in the Lorax. We know there's the Lorax. There's a little boy, there's the Onceler. Are there even more characters? When we look back, let's see if we can find even more characters. What happened? What were the things that happened in the story? Well, in the Lorax, it's a pretty long story. Lots of things happened, right? We know that there were lots of trees, and all the trees got cut down. In the Lorax, we learned the Onceler. What happened at the very end of the story? How did things change? Those are all some of the whats of the story. And where? Where does the story take place? It seems at first like it's two very different places, but then we found out it was the truffalo tree forest before all the trees were cut down and after all the trees are cut down. So those are two settings, or where. Now, I'm going to draw a picture and add who, what, where. So I'm looking back on the story like we often do to kind of start thinking of who are our characters, where are we? So we have the little boy from our story. We know that the Lorax, he was on the cover, and the Onceler. Now we don't really ever see the Onceler in the story, so you could still draw the Onceler. It just may make it a little bit more tricky. It's a little windy outside today. Oh, and then we have the truffalo tree forest. I think I want to draw when the truffalo tree forest is still really pretty. And so that's going to be my where. So the truffalo tree forest. But who is going to be in my story? I could draw the Onceler knitting his sneed with a little barbaloot there. I think, though, I want it to be the first time we meet the Lorax. I think that's such a fun part of the story, is when we meet the Lorax. We see the Onceler knitting a sneed and the Lorax saying, I think you're making a big mistake. So I think that's what I want to draw. So I'm gonna draw, we've got a truffalo tree. And they kind of have these big tufts like this. Kind of have little stripes. That makes it a truffalo tree. And what did the Lorax jump out of? There's a little stump. Okay, and then also in this picture there's like the Onceler's house. So I'm gonna draw that too. It's kind of just like a big archway. So we've got a big archway, and that's the Onceler's little house. So I'm now gonna draw a couple labels. So I have, I'm gonna sound out truffalo tree, truffalo tree, and I could have a family member help me with that, or I could just sound it out. And then I have stump, so it's the Lorax's stump. So I have, those are some of our settings, and then I have the, you know that sight word, Onceler house. So we have our setting. You could add even more beautiful setting, and then I want to draw some of our characters. So I think I want to draw the Lorax first, because he's maybe my favorite character. Is he happy or angry, you think? I don't think he's very happy, so I'm drawing him kind of angry. He's shortish and brownish and mossy. I think I remember from the story. He seems more orange though from the illustration, so I'm drawing him more orange. And then I'm gonna make his mustache yellow because his mustache seems pretty yellow. And then maybe giving him a little nose. Okay, and then I'm gonna label him as one of our characters, the Lorax. So I've already got some of my who's and some of my where, and then I need to still draw the Onceler. So I'm just gonna draw his arms like in the illustration because we don't ever really see the Onceler. I'm just drawing his hands. He's holding lots of money because I'm starting to draw the what is happening, right? The Onceler is making lots of money off of the cut down truffalo trees by making some fades. And then I'm gonna also draw the what of the Lorax. He's not happy, right? He keeps telling the Onceler to do something different. So I'm drawing a little speech bubble and I'm saying, I speak, or the, sight word, trees. I speak for the trees. So now, and you can do even more than this, I have a labeled drawing. I have the Onceler's house with the truffalo trees and the Lorax stump. I have my Onceler and my Lorax. Let me make sure I label my Onceler. Onceler. What do you think I could add to my picture? Do you think I could add more? Do you think I could have drawn a different scene? And what scene could I have drawn? All right, goodbye crew. We miss you so much and we hope you are feeling healthy and having a great day. And we hope to see you soon.